r/rules horror. Posted by u/PrinceAsmo. I am an agent of the supernatural. These are my stories. Story 1, Mr. Eligor. I shall not give my name to say this story, and probably for more stories that may come. Which story is probably one of many. You may just call me Agent Blue. You are all used to stories of people being caught up in supernatural, impossible situations. People being caught up in fucked up, deranged places. People about getting caught up in places and situations that had rules tied to survival. In all situations, the people were feeling weak, afraid, frail, mortal. These are not exactly this kind of stories. These are stories that look more like a different side of the spectrum. The side where you have the knowledge and experience dealing with these things, and have the power to resist them. Let me tell you about me for a second. I grew in a big, for my country's standards, city located in a small Mediterranean country that has a shit ton of history. It's not Italy. In that city I became who I now am. I am heavily, and I mean, extremely heavily tied to the supernatural. As many of you know, supernatural possessions are demons or spirits trying to take over human bodies. To be honest, 90% of possessions are tied to demons. There are 3 outcomes when you are possessed. You either get consumed by the demon, your spirit lost for all eternity, and he uses your body in the mortal realm. Outcome number 2, you don't lose yourself to the demon, and the demon bounces off of you, on an item, another human, or even an animal. Outcome number 3, and the most rare one, 2% probability of it happening, is the human, not only resisting the demon, but consuming the demon instead. The outcomes depend on the strength of the soul and the strength of the demon. Demonic hierarchy is very much real. Demons are either weak, medium strength or high-ranking demons, which have a lot of power within them. Demons can use their power to almost their full extent if they take full control of a human body, not through items or animals, they just become either self-moving if items, or feral if animals. But, a human can also use a demon's full supernatural power if he consumes him. How do I know all of this? I am formerly possessed mortal. I am a case 3, with the power of a high-ranked demon. No, I cannot do fancy magic shit. No, I cannot mimic the avatar and control the elements. What I can actually do, is destroy demons with a lower ranking than me and evenly fight demons on my rank. That is a case only in our realm. And now, I cannot return to hell. No demon can return, and I am just a human with a demon's power. Telekinesis to a good extent. To elaborate, I can move anything in my vision with controlled force and velocity, including living beings. This is a power almost all demons have, explaining all the extreme poltergeist cases, where everything in a room moves at the same time. I can see spirits, communicate to them, and I can distinguish other case 1s or case 3s. I have incredible strength, way more than human peak strength. You might have seen in movies, that possessed people having incredible strength. It's an understatement. Even though I might have this, I am forced to keep it hidden because I am now vulnerable to all religious activities. That's why demons possessing people are stupid. They dream of conquering the human realm while the whole world is under religious hold. Do you even see case 1s? No. Because they are eradicated rather quickly. But enough of that. I will only tell you one last thing. There are many places that have supernatural effects beyond my powers. For example, there are places that take you to different dimensions. Being locked in a building where you are walking about the stairs, going up the floors, but being still on the same floor. All the time. There are also many different kinds of entities. Most myths are true. Not everything is a spirit or a demon. And I can't deal with everything that exists. The reason that I'm here, writing my experiences, is to give another view on the subject. And from what I have seen, people know the sequence of not following a rule. But not what happens when you distort a rule, creating unpredictable results. And also, I post here just vent off things that I must keep hidden from the outside view because I am at risk of being uncovered. My identity here is not at risk, and I give extremely vague points throughout my stories. Everyone here has lived stories like these. Just not like I live them. That said, why would I deal with things like that? Why I discuss dealing with things of such nature? Because I work as a semi-independent agent, assigned on task forces that deal with such things, and sometimes I work solo. I do all kinds of things. Either help dispel dangerous situations, demonically haunted sites are a thing I do often. Another thing I do is go to sites that have specific rules to get through the day/night. These kinds of jobs are reserved to security guards or gullible students that need the money. Most die, less live, but they are plagued with PTSD, and no one comes out unscathed. Well, except me. I give my services for a very steep price. The more dangerous the job is, the more heavy you get paid. I always get paid X3 the original payment. I have a certain certificate by an underground but unfortunately well-known facility. I also have a set of rules, personal ones that I need to follow at all times. Agent Rule 1. Never, under any circumstances, reveal your powers to more than 2 humans at a time. If it's 2 or less, you may exterminate them, as they are immediately deemed as extreme risk individuals for being exposed to your nature. If you do not exterminate them, or get exposed in front of 3 or more people, you are immediately placed under arrest by the facility, and you will be placed under trial, which is very likely to lead to termination. Termination is execution. Agent Rule 2. If you are forced to use your powers in front of an audience without any other option to escape a situation, you are to exterminate any direct threat on your person and any witness to your nature. Failing to do so will result to termination. Agent Rule 3. If you deem any situation impossible to handle alone, you are to always request immediate backup on site. If the backup does not assist within 5 minutes of the request, you are to terminate all backup agents. Code 6066, putting Agent Blue under life-threatening risk due to insubordination is considered treason to the facility. Any and all parties involved in the immediate backup squad are to be terminated on site by Agent Blue. Well, I'm quite flattered. Now, time for the story, yes? The story I'll share today is a story about such a place. I got a message from the facility. I am semi-independent because I am bound to a contract with the mentioned facility, but I can also freelance and pick my own jobs, about a guarding job in an abandoned hospital in Serbia. I have no reason to refuse, as the payment is good and extras come in all the time. As always, good amount of money entered my bank account for the travel expenses, separate from my payment. During my trip, I contacted HQ and asked some things, like I always do. Operator, how may I assist you? Agent Blue, let's just call me Blue. I couldn't for the life of me think of a name for myself since I can't use any. B. About the hospital in Serbia. Is there a payment if I get rid of whatever plagues it? Oh, no, and you are explicitly prohibited from fighting any entity. You are to perfectly execute the rules of the site, and not engage on any entity unless absolutely necessary. B. That's no fun, Martha, you know that. Oh, orders are orders, Agent Blue. I can't give you any more intel, but I can tell you that you are the first to take this job. I believe you can understand what that means. B. I am the test subject for a facility setting up their defenses. I see. Thank you, Martha. Oh, stop calling me Martha, Agent Blue. I am operator number 12 while online. Expect company bonus for a job well done. And thus the call was over. I indeed realized that the hospital was most likely an underground lab or something similar. It has its defenses, and they need a guard to keep people out of it. First reason is to keep trespassers out of harm's way. Second reason is to keep clever, survival expert trespassers out of the premises. I can't for the life of me understand which survivalist could get through the supernatural defenses that killed them, except case 3s and 1s. But, I digress. My job there was to basically be the test subject on whether the defenses were good enough or not. Even though underground, unnamed labs and organizations have questionable motives and goals, most of the time they didn't want people to die for them. I would never die in a place like this, if I fight back, unless they have brought in something out of my league. Something like that would be hard for a no-name org to handle anyway. After arriving to the small town in central West Serbia, I grabbed a cup of coffee and headed to the hospital in my car. That place was a fucking mess. Mold and grass covered most walls on the bottom floor, graffiti decorated the walls, metal fences were broken, windows were basically thin, shiny sand by now, and on the 6th floor, the corner of the building was destroyed, like a plane fell on it and left the southeast corner of the 6th floor exposed to the sunlight or moonlight, depending on the hour. I sighed, lit up a cigarette and walked inside. The interior was as I expected. Rotten, moldy, vandalized and painted. But it was dead silent. No sounds of nature. No sounds of machines. Nothing. My steps sounded like drums in the empty space of the hospital. In front of me, there was a small box, fitting around 3 humans with little room for comfort. It was the only shiny thing in the hospital. It was obviously recently made just for the job. I walked in, locked the door and sat on the, pretty comfortable I must admit, chair. I looked at the huge monitor stationed on the desk. The screen was divided in 9 different screens. One for each floor 1 to 6, one for the ground floor seeing the entrance, one for the basement and one for the ground floor seeing the stairs and elevator. I started chewing on a chocolate bar and took the piece of paper, as always placed in plain sight. I need to say it again. This won't be the scared naive guy got caught in the wrong situation. Far from it. But there is a situation here that scared me. Welcome to your new place of work, Mr. Smith. Oh cool, apparently the company named me Mr. Smith. We hope you enjoy your stay during your shift. Your shift begins at 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. What the fuck is wrong with these people? How can people enjoy their shift? Now, we need to inform you that you need to follow a set of peculiar rules. These rules will be your gospel for the nights you're staying here. Make sure you follow them religiously and without errors. Errors might lead to some unwanted situations, at worst, death. The rules are as follows. Number 1, during 10 to 11 p.m., the camera looking over floor 4th of may turn to static. Should that happen, take the firearm provided in the drawer and go up to the 4th floor on foot only. Do not use the elevator. Scan floor 4, if you see nothing, you may return to the box, the camera will be functioning. If you see a black shadow in the entrance to any of the patient rooms, start shooting until it disappears, then you are free to return to your box. If it does not disappear after using a full clip on it, run to the box, lock it and cut off the power to the room for 30 minutes. You should be safe after that. If you hear laughter when you arrive at the 4th floor, laugh along until it stops. If you hear a woman crying, shout the following phrase word by word: "Your husband is ready to see you, madam." The crying should stop immediately. This is the first rule? Really? I have done many jobs, but usually the first rule is an easy and short one. Whatever, moving on. Number 2, during 10:30 am, if you see a man in white coat in front of your window, wave at him. If he waves back, smile and keep doing your work. If he doesn't wave, pull the red lever next to the door. If you see a man in black dark clothes walking shakily in the ground floor, get out of the box and shoot him dead. You must do this process in 45 seconds from the moment you exit. If you can't, you should start running out of the building before he starts sprinting after you. If that happens, follow the next rule. Number 3, if you ran outside the building thanks to the dark clothed man, you must start moving around the hospital for 30 minutes. You will feel people watching you. Do not stop moving for more than 3 seconds. Should you do, you are beyond saving. After the 30 minutes have passed, you have 60 seconds to go back inside the hospital before the surgeon comes. If you are still outside, good luck, you either kill him or be killed. Number 4, the surgeon comes either at 12 a.m. sharp, or 60 seconds after you have patrolled the outside of the hospital. You must be seen inside your box. If you're not, he will catch you and take you to a surgical room. If you are in the box, he will stop by for his check-in. He will show a blank ID. If it's black, respond with "You don't have any duties today." He will leave. If he doesn't, shoot him between the eyes through the glass. If the ID is white, respond with "You don't have any surgeries today, you are to be stationed in room 9, floor 3. If the ID is red, respond with "You are needed in the emergency room in floor 6. Number 5, during 12 to 1 a.m., you are allowed to have a snack at the floor 1 cafeteria. Do not ask for any kind of meat, any other food is fine. You'd rather not eat the meat if you are not a cannibal. Number 6, during 1 to 3 a.m., you are to patrol all floors, for 20 minutes each, excluding the basement. Do not interact with any person in a white coat. If an older man tries to chat with you while you're patrolling floor 2, tell him "I am not a nurse" until he leaves. Should you not, he will drag you to his room where you will become a patient for the surgeon. If you see a man in a black trench coat in floor 5, leave floor 5 immediately and don't visit it for the rest of the night. If you go to floor 6 and you see the void through the broken corner, follow the next rule. Number 7, if you see the void through the broken wall in floor 6, you must first start running down the stairs. Do not use the elevator under no circumstances, it will take you to floor 7. We don't have a 7th floor. When you go down the stairs, check for the sign telling you the current floor. If you go down 2 floors and the floor is still floor 6, start running up. After you have ascended 2 floors, check the corner. If you still see the void, repeat the rule until you see the night sky. If at any point in any floor the outside sky is red, go in the elevator and press floor 1. It will take you to the cafeteria where you are safe to return to the box. If it starts going up, jam the elevator. Try to escape through the elevator doors. The sky should be normal again. If you fail to escape in 3 minutes, the elevator will fall all the way to the basement. If you are still alive, follow the next rule. Number 8, if you at any point go into the basement, you must never check morgue room number 3, no matter what you hear behind the door. You must unconditionally check morgue room number 2. If you see any hatches open, close them immediately. You will be constantly hearing footsteps from morgue room number 1 while you are inside room number 2. When you are finished with room number 2, go to room number 1. If you see a body on the table, run. It's not dead, and it isn't human either. If you see no bodies, yell the priest will be here soon. If you hear laughter, laugh along and leave. If the hatch opens, pull the green lever next to the door. After that, you may return to ground floor. Number 9, when you arrive in your box after the basement, this only applies if rule number 7 was in effect, the time will always be 3:33 a.m. until 4 a.m. You may take a quick nap. If you have returned to the box under normal circumstances, you should arrive at 3 a.m. You must never fall asleep until 3:33 a.m. After that, you may nap until 4 a.m. Number 10, if you are napping at 4 a.m., you will be awakened by a loud bang coming through cameras 2, ground floor stairs plus elevator, 9, basement. Go check the elevator on the ground floor and call it. If it comes and the door is open normally, send it to floor 7, do not go in. It is not the elevator is currently crashed and destroyed in the basement. Number 11, during 4 to 6 a.m., you are to check the live feed for any abnormalities. If you see the surgeon in any floor except his assigned floor, 3 or 6, use the microphone next to the monitor and issue this, "Surgeon, you are to return to your assigned post immediately." He should return at once. If you see the surgeon in the basement, push the red button under the desk, and don't ever look at the basement camera. You may check after 30 seconds, the surgeon will be gone. If you see a man in a black trench coat in any floor except the 5th, you are to go there and shoot him on sight. If you have had an earlier encounter with him, Rule 6, go to the 5th floor and start screaming for 5 seconds. You will hear someone running up to the 5th floor, use the emergency stairs to return to ground floor. If you see the man in the ground floor through the feed, get out of the box and say "Have a nice day, Mr. Eligor." If you see any patients out of the rooms, you are to go to the respective floor, except 5th if you have encountered Mr. Eligor, and guide the patients, without speaking to them, use force, to their rooms. Number 12, at 6 a.m. you will hear the bottom drawer unlock. It contains your paycheck. You are free to go. Thank you for working with us. I am not going to lie, it was quite interesting. And it looks like almost 90% of death for the security guy. It's gonna be a fun night, I thought to myself. I checked the clock, it was 10:15 p.m. I sighed and started looking over the live feed. Nothing happened until 10:34 p.m., where I saw a man in a white coat in front of the box. I looked up at him, and I didn't expect this. He had 4 hands, a bald head without eyes or nose or ears, but he had a massive mouth, tilted upwards in a crooked, rotten smile with rotten teeth, and the inside of his mouth looked like an endless abyss. But I didn't even flinch. I looked at him with a dead, soulless look in my eyes and waved. His smile disappeared. It became an awkward half-smile, which I would only explain as confusion. Maybe because I didn't fear him? Does he really have that level of communication? But one thing he never did, was wave. I pulled the lever, and I heard something like a door open where the faceless was, and he disappeared downward at a high speed. I was heavily amused, a trap hatch to dispose of the faceless. Delightful. But as I was thinking of how amusing this was, I saw a guy move like a drunkard heading towards the exit. I grabbed the firearm, went out of the box and put 3 bullets through his torso. He fell dead on the floor, 7 seconds were needed. I went back in the box, I lit up another cigarette and looked at the feed. What a surprise, camera 6, floor 4, was showing static. I took the firearm with me along with 3 full clips of ammo and went up using the stairs as instructed. I was fairly confident in myself, as I have received training in martial arts and weaponry. I could use any weapon to near perfection, and I was extremely fast in reloading my weapons, especially one-handed firearms. My confidence was based on facts, but I should have followed the rules. Not that I was under any danger, to be honest. When I arrived at the 4th floor, I heard laughter, and started laughing along. The laughter stopped fairly fast, but before I could leave, I saw a black shadow standing in the entrance of room 2, looking straight at me. It was 6 feet 1, looking like a normal human. Except completely black, darker than the darkness engulfing the hospital. The only thing of note were its crimson red eyes, with tiny black pupils. How cliché. I immediately unloaded the remaining magazine into it, and since it didn't disappear I reloaded in 1.4 seconds and unloaded more into it. But if it didn't disappear with one magazine, it wouldn't disappear with a shot from an anti-tank rifle. It rushed to me, I scoffed and I grabbed it by the throat. Its featureless face showed nothing, but its eyes showed everything. confusion, and fear. I tightened the grip, crushing its neck in my hand, and the shadow scattered into nothingness. My reaction was simple. Fuck, I now need to explain how I got rid of one of their defenses, I whispered to myself, and I went to the ground floor, and relaxed in my box. I left a message to HQ, informing them about what happened. The reaction was golden. Oh well, shit happens lol, Executive Operator T. Professional organization huh? I won't lie, I adore my work environment, the perfect balance of professional behavior and chill, modern behavior. The co-workers are a joy to work with. Except Martha, although hot as fuck, she was a bit of a work and etiquette freak. I looked at the clock, 11:10 p.m., I saw the faceless again, and I looked at him. This time his smile seemed awkwardly. I waved and he hesitantly waved back. That's when I realized something. The entities adapt to you. The faceless was scared and hesitant in front of me. I was heavily amused, because that can be both a blessing and a curse. For me, a blessing, because I reacted how I did thanks to who I am. But no one will be like me and they will be scared against the faceless. I started wasting my time, until I saw a guy in front of my window. The time was 12 a.m., he had short black hair, crazy long beard, and he has no eyes. Like, they were gouged out, and blood was flowing out of the empty sockets. His mouth was stitched shut. I looked at him indifferently, and he showed me his ID. A black kid. You don't have any duties today, I said with a monotone, bored voice. But he did the unthinkable. He showed me his ID again and it was blue? I looked in the rules again, and looked back at him. There is no such thing as a blue ID in the rules. He started banging the box glass. He couldn't crack it, but he was annoying, so I stepped out. When he saw me walking out of the box he then started running away? What the fuck is going on? This is completely off script. I picked up a steel beam from the floor and threw it like a spear right through him. I got him nailed on the half-broken wall of the ground floor, and walked up to him. I grabbed him by the shirt, and pulled him out of the steel beam and started dragging him to the exit. He tried to resist, but his strength, even though more than a human's, it was weak in comparison. I went off script myself. I opened the hospital doors, and threw him on the grassy ground. Before he could react though, hands appeared through the grass and pulled him in, sinking him underground like quicksand. I immediately contacted HQ. B. This is Agent Blue, I have an issue. Oh, this is Operator Jenna, hi sweetheart, what is wrong? B. Hi Jenna, please forward me to an exec operator, I have an issue with the site I'm on. While waiting for the call to be forwarded, I noticed something odd. The elevator was moving to different floors on its own. My eyes became thin and my patience was paper thin as well. EO, hi Blue, what's up? B, hi T. The site is going haywire, it did a 180 and it's now off script. EO, that's odd. Have you noticed any unusual things since you got there? B, yes, an entity which I encountered twice, has adapted to me, and is now afraid. Maybe because I didn't react with fear when it first showed up. EO, so you are against sentient entities. Anything else? B, yes, the so-called surgeon was also afraid of me, but he went fully out of script so he was terminated. EO, was this after you disposed of the shadow? B, yes. EO, I believe that the situation has changed mostly to how you can fight against it. It will try to fight you. Your directive has been altered, Agent Blue. You are to keep working as per usual, follow the rules in that shit you do, and in a case where something is off script, you may act as you see fit. Nothing is off limits. You can be excused because when things are off script, you don't know how to react properly. You may have caused this by completely ignoring a rule, but still, your services are extremely valuable for the Haction organization, the one that owns the hospital. Don't bother searching, organizations of this nature don't have any physical intel accessible to the public, to object. You give them solutions for the unforeseen cases and situations. Anything else you need, Agent Blue? B, that will be all. Thank you T. And so I went up a floor for a snack. I got seated in the rundown, decrepit cafeteria and a woman, without skin approached me. I gave her my order, salty pretzels with orange juice. After 2 minutes, she came back and practically tossed the tray in front of me. I shrugged and started eating. To my surprise, the food was incredible. And it was no illusion, it doesn't work on me. I ate 3 more pretzels, and then returned to my box. When I arrived, I saw the clock writing in deep red. 12:58 a.m. I got up again and went up the floors. First I patrolled floor 1 for 20 minutes. Literally nothing happened, except that I saw the cook in the cafeteria, a skinless male this time, looking at me, from a safe distance, behind the counter, thinking he is hiding. In floor 2, I saw an elderly man approaching me. I had some questions. Since the surgeon didn't exist anymore, what would happen if the older guy drags me? Well, this is the answer. The elderly man immediately grabbed me by the leg and tried to drag me to a room. But he couldn't. He desperately tried to drag me, but he couldn't move me an inch. I looked at him, and I heard him say, "Who are you?" I narrowed my eyes and answered, "I am not a nurse." He immediately got up and sprinted in his room, slamming the door behind him. I had many questions, but I kept patrolling until another 20 minutes passed and went up to the 3rd floor. There I saw the faceless in front of me. He froze, smiled awkwardly, and waved, and he hurriedly walked away, checking the rooms. At the 2 a.m. mark, I went up to floor 4, that's when shit started going ballistic. I heard laughter, crying, and shadow men in every single room entrance. I started laughing hard, actually laughing. I walked further inside floor 4 and the laughter stopped. "Your husband is ready to see you, madam," I said loudly, and the crying stopped as well. Now I stood in the middle of floor 4, in the middle of all the shadow men. But they didn't move. They were just staring me intensely. But they never moved. I tried to move towards one, but it disappeared. They all disappeared. I had literally no answer. Now, as I said before, I could see if something was a demon. And they were not. They were spirits under command. And they were fully sentient. As for the faceless, or the surgeon, I could only imagine that they were dead corpses with foreign souls into them. I went up to floor 5. I saw nothing. No one was there. No man in black trench coat. I patrolled for 20 minutes and then, I went up to the final destination of my patrol. There I froze. The sky out of the broken corner was deep, blood red. And the man with the black trench coat was standing there, looking outside. This was not a spirit. This was a demon. Then I had 2 questions. First, how I haven't felt a demonic presence so far, and second, why did he seem independent? He turned around, and I got a good look at him. He largely looked like a human, but he had sharp, red eyes, an impossibly large grin with 2 rows of sharp teeth, and from his mouth a black, sticky liquid was slowly flowing. He looked at me and spoke with a cliché demonic voice. "Igor, you're the reason my scene is fucked up. Now, I'll be the one to fuck you up." I scoffed, but before I could attack him, he hurled a piece of the broken ceiling on me. I got knocked through the open elevator doors, and they closed. I started going up, but a punch through the panel was enough to make the elevator jam, but I didn't get 3 minutes to escape. The elevator started falling immediately. I was starting to get pissed off, because encounters with demons were a no-no when working for an organization of such small scale. First of all, they can't properly control him. Second, they have most certainly dealt a deal with him, and his share was human souls. The security job with these rules was his way to get fed. 3 things are in effect. First, he can't shift the setting to kill a human under the ordeal. The rules must be unconditionally followed. Second, in a case where he breaks his own rules, he is demoted. Third, if the setting gets screwed up, like I screwed it, he can move however he pleases against the person that is under the ordeal. And now, because I had no intel, I had to fight against an unrestrained demon. That's a tenfold on my payment. With that last thought, the elevator crashed in the basement. I got out of the crashed remains of the elevator, and after looking around, I was genuinely scared. As I said, things involving space loops and time loops were something I couldn't deal with my power. And this was one of these cases. The basement was not the underground morgue facility that was described. Well, one part of it was. I could see rooms number 1 and number 3, I could see the broken corner of the 6th floor, the cafeteria, the security box and my car on top of a grass patch. All blended in a weird fucked up amalgamation of space. My stomach hurled. I hated things like these. Yes, even people like me have weird phobias like these. I am still a human, even though I have consumed a demon. I needed to escape, and fast. If I do not communicate with the HQ when I finish my shift, they will invade the area, and I don't know if they actually find me or collapse the building on top of the space loop I am in. I don't even know if this is a time loop. I could be stuck here for 400 years, and only 4 minutes could have passed in the real world since I entered the 6th floor. I got my head straight, and decided to follow Rule 8. But there was no morgue room number 2. And I started doubting whether the rules could help me. This was fight or flight. And I never fly, I don't have that kind of power. So I opened the door to morgue room number 3. And that is when I threw up. The room was sideways. The floor was the wall with the drawers that held the dead corpses. And the hatch in front of the door was opened, waiting for a poor soul to open the door and fall in, possibly trapping him for all eternity. But there was a door on the ceiling. That was open and I could see a fairly normal ground floor. Well, compared to morgue room number 3, the ground floor was sideways, but through the eyes of the amalgamated basement it was flipped upside down. That was the most disgusting thing I have ever seen, and I couldn't stop having goosebumps. I closed my eyes, and I jumped in room number 3, dodging the open hatch. I heard the door slam behind me and I started getting pulled back on the door I went through, at least, that's what I was feeling. In reality, the gravity was normally to the floor of the room, and upon entering and the door closed the gravity returned to normal. Honestly, I have an insanely hard time describing that whole thing, it's so fucked up. I'm sorry for the eyesore of a description, but there is more. Since I was normally standing to the floor of morgue room 3, I turned to the door. I looked out of it, and now I could see a sideways ground floor. I was getting extremely dizzy, and my heart was beating extremely fast. I couldn't exactly handle it. But this time I knew that the gravity will shift to the ground floor standards. So I jumped prepared. I landed in the entrance of the hospital, and at the same time, I heard a loud crash. I checked my clock. 4 a.m., the elevator crashed. I tried going out of the hospital. Everything seemed back to normal. I got in the box, and contacted HQ, asking for permission to face a rogue demon of a low rank. I got the approval, and called backup to be stationed on the ground floor of the hospital. By the time I got up to the 4th floor, within 5 minutes, I heard a dozen footsteps charging in the hospital, along with some vague orders to be ready to fire. I reached the 6th floor, and I saw Mr. Eligor looking at me. Eligor, you should know better than to look my way again, mortal. I visibly cringed at the cliché and boring remark. I didn't say anything and walked up to him. This time, I was prepared for any kind of combat he'll attempt against me. He started throwing things on me using telekinesis, but my own was stronger and I took control of his things. He was now visibly panicking. He tried muttering a question, but before he asked, my hand had already pierced his chest. His eyes returned to a mundane brown color, his face returned to a normal, peaceful expression, and any demonic characteristics were erased from his body. It was now just a soulless human corpse. That was most likely a case 1. I put the body down carefully, as I noticed the sky returning to its normal look. I no longer felt anything either, no spirit and no power in the building. To summarize what was happening, the whole setting was designed and orchestrated by this demon. Yes, demons have the power to control dead spirits if they get them before they reach the afterlife. My guess was that Hakshan asked for his aid. But that is a huge no-no. You don't make deals with demons. And if I wasn't the first one to be on this site, the rule list would be even bigger. With new souls of the previously dead security guards. I closed the brown eyes of the long-gone human, and I walked down the floors. One thing was still boggling my mind though. Demons don't have the kind of power that he exhibited. Time loops and space loops that happened on a scarred environment, a product of the hidden supernatural nature of the world. Many things apply, such as quantum physics, atomic research and many other elements of the wide world. My hunch was that this organization provided the means to create space loops to the demon. A scarred environment, a morgue basement. And some physics that I have zero knowledge on. I contacted HQ and left the site of the hospital. The squad found 5 bodies, the 2 skinless people from the cafeteria, the faceless on the 4th floor, the old man from the 2nd floor and the surgeon on the table of a morgue room. They were all confirmed human corpses, and to go into greater detail, the skinless were corpses of a Serbian man and woman, a married couple. The faceless was identified as a Caucasian man that had no skin on his stomach, the skin from there was stitched on his head, completely covering it with a cut in the area of the mouth. He had cut cheeks from ear to ear, creating the huge grin I saw, and he had his nose removed. The elder man was just a normal, elder corpse. The surgeon was a man that went missing in Russia 14 years ago. Weird thing is, the blood from his eyes was still fresh. Another important thing to note, that when the squad returned from the basement, they were -1. They went down again, to find their crewmate, without success. But when they got back to ground level, they were missing another man. HQ issued a purge and cleanse order, basically in order to destroy the site while specialists were cleansing it. After the PNC, they found the bodies of their crewmates under the rubble. They were both missing their organs. A couple of days after I returned from my trip, I got a bonus of 55k for going above and beyond with my assignment. HQ contacted me to inform me that the organization involved with this obscure incident was disbanded and the ones responsible were terminated. which was 80% of their staff. Being naive isn't a sin. Thinking you know things while you don't, that is a sin. Don't make deals you shouldn't do, like Action did. Don't get involved with things you do not understand, like Action did. Always reflect upon your actions. I am sure that organization meant no real harm. But they could have caused way too much harm with their actions, just because they acted rashly. They wanted safety, and thought a demon could provide it. What a delusion. And a note to the reader. Always stay safe and avoid situations like these. You might lose your life, or worse. Become a rule to be followed. I will come back to write more stories. There are some stories that I was completely powerless and felt fear, and there are also stories that I have been the one to fear. I decided to start with this one, because it has a bit of both.